So we're going to go on and get started here. My name is Sandra Wick. I am the crop production agent in the Post-Rock Extension District. However, I'm also doing livestock agent duties right now because the Post-Rock District has been without an ag agent for or a livestock agent for about a couple years. So I'm enjoying working on the livestock side as well. Alrighty, again, thanks for joining us on the last session of our cattle conversations for 2021. We've covered lots of topics for you, anywhere from understanding pregnancy, some nutrition things. We've also covered some vaccination things and some health issues. So this last session, we're going to be introducing our speaker here, but again, thanks for joining us. It takes a village to make this happen and to make a lot of things happen. So we have our collaboration team here, and it's for several districts around in north central Kansas. So we have with us Justine Henderson. She's the livestock agent with the Central Kansas District. We also have Alicia Bohr. She is one of the ag agents in the Cottonwood District. Our speaker here, and I'll introduce him in just a few minutes. We also have Brett Melton. He is the livestock agent in the River Valley District. And then I've already introduced myself. So we really do appreciate all of us working together and trying to bringing this program to you as well. Alrighty, just a few little housekeeping things so we can make this run as smoothly as possible. Since you are using Zoom, hopefully a lot of you are familiar with using the Zoom technology. If you want to ask a question, here's a picture of what the screen looks like for you. There is a chat link or a button down at the bottom of your screen. Simply click on that. On the right will come up a place where you can see where you are typing. You can simply type any of your subject matter questions in there, or if you're having any technical issues, such as you can't hear, you can't see the slides, type that in there and one of us will help you with that as well. If that doesn't work and you still want to ask a question, you can simply email any of your agents here on the team here, or I put my email right there on the screen for you, swick@ksu.edu. But any of the agents, you can email any of your local agents as well if you know their email, and we can get your questions answered. We'll probably save the questions till the end since we only have about 25 minutes here, unless it's very pertinent to that slide, and then we'll let the speaker go on and answer that question for you. Alrighty, without any further ado, I have the honor of introducing our speaker today. He is actually a co-worker, so that also makes it great to be able to introduce one of our speakers. Clint has been, I believe he's been an extension agent, and this is coming on 4 years now during June. So we really appreciate him being able to share some of his expertise. He actually comes from a 5th generation Angus breeder. And actually, Clint, I actually knew his dad and his aunt growing up when I was in 4-H and FFA. So I knew his family even before Clint was born, if that makes sense. So I remember the Laflin Ranch, when I was growing up, because I grew up in Northeast Kansas. So he actually co-owns and operates North Camp Angus Ranch with his father, Guy. And he's an expert at evaluating lots of animals. So he's been all around the United States and other countries, Canada, Mexico, and he exhibits cattle at those places as well. So we really, truly appreciate Clint sharing his expertise. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen so he can put his slides up as well.
Thanks, Sandra. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, guys. Well, thank you again for taking time out of your schedule this morning. I know February and March, spring for any cattle producers get very busy. So I appreciate you coming in this morning. kind of our topic. We wanted to cover some sire selection things. If you're like me, my mailbox looks pretty full this time of year with bull and female sale catalogs from all over the country, with respected breeders asking you to consider buying cattle from their operation or program. And so my presentation here this morning is just kind of walking you through some things on kind of, what is the best fit for my operation if I need to go buy a herd bull to naturally cover my cows, or if I'm interested in AIing or artificially inseminating those females, what sires should I be considering and what works the best. Here on this first slide, this is my current herd bull that I use in my own program here north of Russell, Kansas. And so he is actually almost 3 years old, coming up in March. So his first set of calves have been very impressive. His first set of calves will sell actually as yearling bulls here this next month. And so his second calf crop is fast approaching. We'll probably have second set of calves start hitting the ground here in the next couple weeks or so. So thanks, Sandra, for that awesome introduction. And so as we kind of keep going, I just want to kind of remind everybody there is a lot of information to digest when you're looking at a bull sale catalog and trying to figure out where to go and what you want to do. And so here's kind of some big picture items that I always try to tell people to keep in mind because it can be very overwhelming to start that process, okay? And so mainly for me, the first and foremost thing that I tell people, and I have to remind myself of this at times too, is that you really need to do business with people you know, okay? Because if something goes wrong, or if you need help on something, these are the people that you're going to reach out to for help. So you definitely want to have a good relationship with those people that you are doing business with, so you can get some help if you need it. Another big thing that I always try to remind everybody is that no silver bullet answer exists, okay? So what may work for one person, you could be fence line neighbors, may not work for you, okay? So definitely remember to use all of your information available to you, okay? Don't be scared to reach out to a breeder of cattle that you're interested in and ask them for help if you trust them and have been through their program, okay? And if you need help, go through and look at their EPD profiles, look at their DNA, and just try to use everything available to you to be able to make the best decision. For many of our producers in this area and around the country, replacement females are being kept that are sired by the bull that you're potentially buying, okay? So if you're doing that, make sure that you are looking at that herd sire's mother, okay? So this takes time, guys. So remember to be willing to take the time to go through and look at these things. Look at the herd sire's mother, their maternal or full siblings, and really just make sure and take a tour, maybe not on sale day, maybe, before the sale, go through that breeder's program and their cows and see if those cattle will fit into kind of what your breeding goals are, kind of what your program goals are, and go from there, okay? And as I said before, all of the breed associations out there have some form of EPDs, or what's known as an expected progeny difference, okay? So basically, that is used to help you compare different sires and what their calves will do, okay, in terms of weight gain or what they'll be like in production. One thing to remember is a bigger number or a higher percentile rank in a certain bull may not necessarily help you. Work to understand what your feed situation is, what your environment is, and use those EPDs to help you make that decision. Another big thing that I really see a lot of people doing is selecting bulls for calving ease. Okay, calving ease is a very important factor because we all get paid by live calves. Okay, live calves are important. And birth weight issues or birthing issues are a main cause of calf loss. Okay, but also remember not to go to an extreme when selecting a calving ease bull, especially if you're using them on cows, okay? Because a cow should easily be able to give birth to a calf that is 8% of her own body weight. So when you have the average of the cow weights in the state of Kansas right now are roughly 1,400 pounds. But I would say a good range of cow weights would be 1,200 to 1,400. Okay, so 8% of a 1,200 pound cow is a 96 pound calf. Okay, so definitely you should be having cows that should be able to have a 75 to an 85 pound calf unassisted. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're going to use these use a bull primarily on cows, okay, and not on heifers. All right. So before bidding on a bull, I always like to tell everybody, figure out what you want to do. Okay, go from a kind of start at the end of whatever you're doing and work your way back. Okay, so figure out, okay, when am I going to market those cattle? Am I going to sell my calves at weaning? Am I going to retain ownership of those cattle all the way through the feeding sector and into the rail? Okay, figure out what you're doing and work your way back, and then try to select a seed stock producer or get to know a seed stock producer that you think will match up to your goals, okay, and what you want to do. So, another thing to consider, will you AI or turn your bulls out, or a combination of both, okay? Because that will really help you kind of figure out kind of what your needs are as you keep moving forward. Available forage and feed resources, okay, in the calving environment that you're in. Definitely very important to consider. I mean, if you're kind of a one-man band, one-person band, you need to make sure that you have, less calving issues, things like that. Keep that in mind, okay? And always try to remember that you need to have a breeding soundness exam on all of your resident herd bulls. Say you bought bulls in the past, they need to have a breeding soundness exam every year, okay, annually, to make sure those bulls will be able to go out and actively breed cows. Okay, so make sure that you are, getting those bulls purchased, adequate time before the breeding season, and most of the bulls that you'll buy will come with a BSE or breeding soundness exam, but you need to do that on the bulls you've already bought in enough time to make sure that you can get them bought and get new ones bought if something doesn't pass. Okay. So, and every year, I think everybody wants to figure out what a budget is. So look at your income and your expenses, okay, and figure out what your bull buying budget is that year. And I will tell you, and what your current needs are, whether you need heifer bulls, cow bulls, etc. Okay, and then adjust that as you need to. But I would plead with you to not just buy a bull at the end of a sale because he's cheap. Make sure that the bulls you are buying fit your goals, and buy the best bulls that you possibly can on your budget. Okay, and again, make sure the people that you're dealing with, make sure that you trust them and know them. Okay, I've seen a lot of wrecks happen with people when they buy bulls or buy females from places they don't know. So make sure you know who you're dealing with. Okay, guys, so a couple things to remember when you're evaluating bulls, you found a sale that you want to go to. Okay, go through the bulls in person if you at all can, because it allows you to do a couple things. You cannot, in person, you can look at a bull and say, okay, disposition wise, he's all right. He's not going to freak out. He's not going to try to kill me or any of my help. Okay. And if you have a disposition issue with a bull you're interested in, definitely take that into consideration because he may not be the bull for you. Okay. Also, when you are looking at a bull in person, you can figure out what he is built like phenotypically. Okay. Or how, any visual indicators such as structure or a testicular development on a bull. For an average Angus bull at 12 months of age, they should have a 32 centimeter scrotal. Okay, so make sure those yearling bulls are above that, okay, to kind of gauge fertility of that bull as a potential herd sire. Okay, again, if you're keeping replacements, make sure that you have time to go through and look at any of that bull's relation. Okay, specifically, replacement heifers and hopefully their mother if she's close. And then if you're feeding those cattle and retaining ownership past weaning, okay, does that breeder or breeding program have a history of being successful in producing cattle that perform well in the feedlot or on the rail? Okay. And again, go through each individual breed association and try to learn about what the different EPDs mean, okay, and how, and what those percentile ranks are, okay. Every EPD base for each breed is updated as often as daily, okay. So those EPD percentile rankings will potentially change, so don't get into the habit of just selecting based on just a number, okay. So just a couple things to remember. Also, this is important to select bulls from breeders that are developing them in a similar environment. Okay, because you really need to understand. Okay, is their milking ability of that sire's daughters going to match up to my available resources? Okay, or labor resources especially. Okay, and if I buy a bull from somebody that is out of my environment or maybe develop them differently than what I would like to see them, maybe fed a little hard, okay, make sure that the bull you buy is going to be ready to go to work and go breed cows without melting too much after you turn him out. Because when those bulls are fed too hard, okay, that can really impact longevity and fertility of that individual animal. And if you're working with a crossbreeds, please remember that a Hereford EPD is not the same as an Angus EPD. The American Angus Association and Mark in Clay Center, Nebraska do have a crossbreed EPD table that you can use to compare across breeds, but please do not try to do that on the fly. Okay, guys, so I put in a video here of a bull that my dad and I raised to kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking for in person when I'm evaluating a bull in a pen. Okay, so we'll see if this works. Okay, so when you see this guy out on the move, okay, you really want those cattle, if they're structurally sound, you really want them to have a 45-degree angle to their shoulder and their pasterns, okay? If they have a good angle, they'll really get out and reach out of that front shoulder. You don't want them to have any kind of choppiness to their gait. Okay, you really want them to be able to get out and move. So when you're in a pen of cattle, make sure and look at them from every angle. Okay, look at their feet, make sure their feet are pointed north and south, not east and west. Okay, you want them square on all four corners. Okay, and you want to have them have a look of quality from the side, really get out and move with some spring of rib shape, okay, and some muscle and power. All right, so make sure when you go to a sale, actually get out in a pen, and even if you have somebody help you, make sure you can get that bull on the move to properly evaluate structure. Okay. Okay, so understanding EPDs. Again, not one EPD is the same across breeds. Okay, they might have similar things between them, but make sure if you are wanting to buy a Hereford bull and an Angus bull, make sure you understand the differences between both breeds. Here's kind of a couple, couple important numbers for me when I go out and I select a herd sire that I look at depending on my needs for that given year. Remember that this is a lot of these EPDs are used as a direct comparison between individual herd sires. Okay, so you're comparing them between bull A and bull B. Okay, so if one sire had a birth weight of 2 and another sire had a birth weight of 3, okay, the birth weight of 3, that sire would be expected to sire calves that are a pound heavier at birth than that of herd sire A that had a birth weight of 2. Okay, so remember to use those sparingly and understand that those are in direct comparison to each individual herd sire. Okay. And weaning weight, yearling weight, especially the same way. Again, we get paid on pounds, okay, at weaning or through the feed yard sector. But understand that, okay, does my environment or my feed resources or my pasture resources, can they withstand a higher growth sire on my cow base? Okay, and there's no wrong answer there. I mean, everybody is a little different depending on their management style and their available resources. So again, what may work for me, okay, in central Kansas, darn sure doesn't work for my dad in western Montana. Okay, there can be some crossover there, but it's not always the case. So be aware and careful of the things that you do. Okay, so we're going to play a little game. Okay, I want you, at the end of this, I'm going to give you 2 herd sire prospects. Okay, and you can talk crap on them all you want because I own both of them and I own both of their mothers and I got to sell both of them in the next month. So, but remember that, use the total picture here when you're trying to select a herd bull. So, a couple things to see here. Okay, this herd sire prospect has a birth weight EPD of 2. Okay, breed average right now for the spring of 21 is 1-2. Okay, as you can see, he doesn't necessarily have, outstanding growth numbers. In fact, he's in the bottom, 10 to 20% of the breed in growth. But if you are going into a, into a resources situation where many people right now are struggling through drought, okay, you don't have a lot of available feed, maybe this is a bull that would fit in a kind of a, a drought situation or something that is a low maintenance and low management style of operation. Okay, so keep that in mind. And there's about 3 months difference in age between these two guys. Okay, so this next bull, all right, he's a February yearling. Okay, he's got a 0.9 on birth, a 9 on calving east direct, and much better growth numbers and a higher milk number than our first sire. Okay, so keep that in mind. Are you in an operation where you have some more available feed? Maybe that's corn, maybe that's some sorghum that you can incorporate, and some distillers, those types of things, and you don't mind feeding a little more to your cows because you have the available resources to do so. Okay, so those are a couple things to keep in mind. So again, okay, I'm going to give you some more information on the next slide, but I want everybody on the meeting to put in the chat box, okay, what bull you would buy. Okay, the first one will be A, the second one will be B. Okay, so here's the next slide of information. Okay, one of these bulls is out of a 10-year-old second generation donor cow for me that serves as the base of my breeding program, where I have retained 5 maternal sisters in my herd. The bull's grandmother was in production until she was 14 and had a calf every year. Okay, so that's very valuable. Which one do you guys think that is? You have any ideas? Okay, so the second one, okay, also extremely valuable, just in a little different vein. Second one is out of a valuable first calf heifer whose grandmother brought $40,000 as an aged cow and as the dam of a notable Angus AI sire that many of you have probably heard of, Barstow Cash. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, it kind of follows your EPD profiles that we talked about earlier. Both bulls had an actual non-adjusted birth weight of 81 pounds. Okay, while one of these bulls had an adjusted yearling weight of 1,125 pounds, and the other bull had an adjusted yearling weight of 1,294 pounds. Okay, one bull has a milk EPD of plus 26, so his daughters, okay, keep that in mind, that's what that number would indicate, what his daughters would milk and how much. The other bull has a milk EPD of 21. Which set of daughters would you rather have in your environment and in your program? Okay, so which one's which here? Anybody have any ideas? And guys, I need a little help because I can't get my my chat box to pull up. So if one of my colleagues would just help me and kind of give me some of the chat answers.
Yeah, Clint, it looks like we've got A, B, A right now. Yeah, A, B, A. So a couple A's and a B for now.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay, we have a little difference, but see, and these two bulls, okay, just to give you an idea, they're both phenotypically very similar. Okay, they've got a lot of value to them. They can both structurally get out and move, and I've got to look at quality from the side, but don't just bid on a bull, and shoot from the hip. Make sure that, hey, I've gone through my selection criteria and really made sure that they work out okay. So, but thanks guys for playing along with that. And I think Lish has a couple poll questions for you guys to answer. Would just like to kind of know, which who I'm working with here. And hopefully everybody can see that and answer as you can.
Yeah, and so you just simply click on your answers. And then the good thing about the polls is we can see it as you vote, but we don't know who's voting. So.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of a change here. The winning response so far is that everybody uses turnout bulls. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. But we do have a couple responses that they come in and say that they do AI or have somebody do that, and that is great. My thing would be, as you're picking an AI sire, okay, there's major bull studs that you're going to go through and get semen, and you can also get some semen from breeders directly on bulls that they may have collected semen on. And so a couple things that I would tell you to remember. If you want to use an AI stud bull like a Gen X or C-Max, something like that, make sure that, if you can't go see the bull in person, make sure that, you have a familiarity with the breeder that bred that animal, okay, and how those genetics would potentially fit into your environment, or make a phone call to somebody that you trust that would have more information on that. A lot of those AI stud bulls are available for viewing, okay, that you can go up. Many of the studs are located in right around Billings, Montana. So in fact, I've got a couple bulls selling in Montana later in March, okay, and I myself will be making that tour to Origin, Gen X, and World West bull studs at that point in time. But make sure that you're using a version of your own selection criteria when you're going through an AI stud book or working with breeders, because many of your local breeders that you already buy your herd bulls from, if you like those calves, they'll have, I guarantee you, they'll have some semen available on either a maternal brother or something very closely related to what you buy. So that might be a route for you guys to go as well. So remember to keep that in mind. And Les, if you want to fire up the next poll question. And again, just respond. Okay, guys. So again, we've got a little bit of a difference in some of the answers that we've got. We've got some producers that are leaving those bulls out longer than 90 days. Okay, and typically I like to see a more of a structured breeding season of at least a 60 days if possible, but 60 to 90 if I can, just to have a more defined calving window, and make sure that that my cattle are, definitely more consistent in their age and growth pattern. So when I go to sell that, I know on some heifer operations, they've got some natural service windows that are even less than 30 days. So, I mean, that can get very labor intensive, but just try to keep in mind, if you're, maybe there's something that you can look at to try to get your bulls out of that pasture. Maybe you can build, kind of a place to keep those bulls when they're not in use, closer to home, or definitely just try to make sure and take care of them too. Okay, don't forget about your bulls prior to breeding season. Okay, because just like our cows, they're going to need to be in a body condition score 6. Okay, by the time you turn them out. Okay, so make sure during these winter months and everything, especially right now, if you turn out in April and May, okay, make sure that your bulls are kind of getting a little bit of supplement to get some condition back on those critters. So, okay, Lish, thank you. Fire up the next one if you could. Okay, again, we've got a little bit of a difference in I would say the majority of you guys are having an annual breeding soundness exam on your resident herd bulls, which if you guys take anything out of what I've talked about today, this would be one thing I would really harp on, because this is something you need to do annually, because just because they pass 1 year, okay, doesn't mean that they're good the next year. In fact, I'll give you guys an example. I had a turnout bull just this last spring that we semen checked before we turned him out, okay, and he passed, okay, and then we preg checked this fall, okay, and he didn't get anything bred, okay, so. But again, we went back and semen checked him shortly after that, after we preg checked, and he passed again, okay? So things can change because it takes about 60 days to generate a full sperm cycle. So sometimes it could be something they ate. It could be something that maybe, threw them off for just one cycle, or you might have more of a developed issue like frostbite if it's really cold, something like that. So please, so you don't show up at calving time and have a 40% open rate, please, for the love of God, get your bulls checked, okay, every year. So, but thank you guys for answering that. But that would be one of those things I'd really harp on. So, okay, and at this point, Sandra or Lish, is there any questions that I can answer?
Yes, there is a question in the chat. Let me scroll back to it. As a rule of thumb, what is the maximum number of females a single bull should service?
Sure. So, okay, I'm gonna split this into a couple different deals. If you have a bull that you're not AIing any of your females, okay, and you're just turning them out for natural service, a good rule of thumb to remember, a bull up to 3 years of age, okay, for each additional month in age that they can service one additional female. So if you go out and buy a yearling bull, okay, you can turn him out with about 12 females, or on just very close, okay? And then if you have a 2-year-old bull, you can turn him out with up to 24 females, okay? By the time they get to 3, they should really be able to cover a lot of cows. Now, if you are AIing, okay, and let's just say that for purposes of this meeting that we have an AI rate of 60 to 70%, okay, in terms of conception, you can turn him, make sure to do the math to figure out, okay, what is my average conception rate on AI, and how many cows can I turn my cleanup bull out with to make sure that they're getting those opens that didn't stick AI bred. Does that answer the question? I hope.
I think it does.
Okay. Any other questions that I can answer?
We will wait a couple more moments.
Okay.
To see if anybody has any other questions.
So just one last point here for anybody that is curious. The cow pictured here is the mother of the first bull. Okay, she was pictured here at 8. Okay, and her grandmother was a heck of a cow too, but this is the mother of the first bull. Anything else?
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any more questions coming in. At least you got one.
Actually, one last one. At the age of 3 years old, is there still a maximum number of females to put on one bull?
Yeah, I would say, realistically, I would, and at that point, I would still be, worried about basically capacity and just making sure that you have enough bulls to make sure you know, towards the tail end of the breeding season, you don't miss one because a bull has bred too many. But I would say you could comfortably, you know, turn him out with 35 cows. And as an older bull, of course, as long as he passes a breeding soundness exam and everything looks on the up and up, I mean, that would be the number that I would probably feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Looks like that's about all the questions that are coming in. So again, we'd like to thank you for participating in our Cattle Conversation series. One important component that we ask you to do is to complete an evaluation. So Brett is going to put that, or somebody, if they would put that link there in the chat box. So just simply click on it. It's a very simple survey or evaluation for us to help with some future programming. As you can see there, actually, we have heard really, really good comments on this online series that we've had. So we are in the process of planning some other future programming livestock series online in the month of April. Those topics will cover more on the pasture side, since that season's going to be coming up here shortly. So we'll talk on like some burning tips and some best practices for that. We'll talk on some weed management, because I know that all of us get a lot of questions from you guys, and you all have questions on some weeds that you have trouble with. We'll also talk about some health considerations, and we'll also visit about pond management. You know, blue-green algae seems to be a topic that comes up every year, so we'll tell you about some new studies that's being done at K-State, and then also water management along with that. So there's some things that you can do with your pond that will help with the efficiency of that as well. So if you are joining us just for the first time now, all of these programs are recorded, and we have the handouts as well. So any of us can get that information for you. Some of them have them posted on each of our respective websites in all the districts. So just give us a holler, and we can walk you through on where those are posted for you. So any other questions coming in, Lish?
No, a lot of comments on thank you. And once again, thank you, Clinton, for the wonderful program. And I do not see any last moment questions.
All righty. Okay. Again, thanks for joining us, and please watch your email and watch advertisement and on the websites for the programming. They're going to start in the month of April. They will again be on Thursdays at 10 o'clock, because you guys are used to that. And that's kind of the time that you guys said worked well for you. So we're going to start that in April, and we could have more programming as well. So again, thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
There we go. It's
Okay.
just us five.
Okay.
Clint, and it's great. The question
You can stop the recording, Lish.
Ooh,